What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. We're here with part 2 of our bowl predictions. If you want to see part 1, it's going to be up. It's going to be up there in the corner. Just click on that. You can see this week's bowl games. But this is going to be the week after. We're going to start with the Duke-Troy game. Duke lost their starting QB. They've lost a couple other people to the transfer portal. It seems like the Duke team doesn't really care. Currently, Troy is the favorites for this game. Troy didn't really lose anybody. And I think that's true. I think the Troy is going to come out there and beat Duke. Duke doesn't have a starting QB. This new guy is going to have a couple weeks of practice before he has to get the starting job. And I don't think it's going to happen. Duke has been struggling this year, especially on offense and mostly defense. They're allowing too many points. I think the Troy's going to come in there. They're going to play their lights out because these players of these Group of 5 teams don't have a lot of opportunity to show what they have. And these bowl games are really for them, not really for the Power 5 teams. And I think that Troy is going to win 21-14. They might cover this spread. They might keep it one score. The next noon game on December 3rd as well is Arkansas State versus Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois has lost a couple receivers through the transfer portal. Arkansas State hasn't really lost anyone. But I would take Northern Illinois 9 out of 10 times in this game. I don't believe in the Arkansas State. Northern Illinois is going to win this really close. I know Arkansas State's kind of favored, but I think Northern Illinois is going to prevail. 24-21 in this game. Not a lot of people are going to watch this game. The Camello Bowl, it doesn't really have a high viewership count. Probably one of the lower tier bowl games. But I still think it's going to stay close, and I think it's going to be very competitive. The next game we have at 2:30 Eastern is Air Force versus JMU at the Armed Forces Bowl. This game, I don't think it's going to be very competitive. I gave Air Force a lot of points just because JMU's defense this year has given up some points. But I think JMU is going to dominate this game. No question. It's not even going to be close. I know it's -3, but JMU's not losing anybody. They're losing like one person, like an offensive tackle to the transfer portal. So this is essentially the same team that's been running down the Sun Belt Conference. And Air Force, near that tail end of the season, has been struggling. They started off really well, and they just started losing to team after team after team. And I think JMU's going to win this at least by 2 scores. Next game we have at 2:30 is Georgia State versus Utah State. Georgia State has lost a lot of key players in their defense, their safety, their linebacker. Utah State hasn't lost anyone. They have a quarterback coming in from Iowa, but he's not going to be able to play at this famous Idaho Potato Bowl. It's a very cute name, but I think Utah State's going to prevail in this game. They're going to win 31-28. Georgia State was favored in this game before the transfer portal opened. But then tables have turned. Utah State, I had to update this list because Utah State has overcome all of the spread because the defense of Georgia State is going to be struggling. They're losing many key players to the transfer portal, which is why the transfer portal NIL deals are outrageous. I'm making a video about that coming soon. Make sure you stay tuned for that. Subscribe down below. But Utah State's going to win this 31-28 at this famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Next, we have a primetime game on that same day. South Alabama versus Eastern Michigan. The spread says -16, but the roster says otherwise. South Alabama is losing their starting quarterback to the transfer portal, and I don't think the South Alabama's offense is going to be able to compete at that level of we're going to score so many points, but Eastern Michigan isn't really losing anybody. I know they haven't had a really good season, but I still think they will keep this competitive. Adventures Bowl. I know that it's in Alabama, so they're probably going to have a lot of fans there just because it's really close. But South Alabama, like I said, is losing their starting QB. It's not going to be very fluid. It's going to be a rough stretch. They're definitely not winning by 16. I have it really close, 21-17. First upset of the week, December 23rd, 7:30, Northwestern versus Utah. I have Northwestern upsetting the Utes. Utah has lost both of their quarterbacks because Riley's coming back, so both of their backups have entered the transfer portal to find greener pastures. So Utah's offense is now struggling more than they were before. I don't think that Utah is going to be able to overcome these obstacles because they have a lot of other players on that transfer portal list leaving the Utes, and I think Northwestern is going to come out on top of this. I know Northwestern's pretty low tier, but they've had a good run near the tail end of their season, really packing up the wins somewhere in the middle of the pack of the Big Ten West. I think the score is going to be 21-17 with the upset in Las Vegas. Next prime time, I wouldn't even say prime time. I'll call it a late night game. Hawaii Bowl, one of the bottom tier bowl games of the year. Doesn't get a lot of views. I think this game is essentially just a giant vacation for both teams Coastal Carolina has a lot of people entering the transfer portal. They're not going to be looking good out there. They're going to be sitting on the beach, surfing it up, and I don't think they're going to perform the best, especially with all of the players, all those key offensive players, key defensive players leaving Coastal Carolina. Also, their head coach is no longer on the team, going to Liberty for a head coaching job. So I think San Jose is going to dominate this game. No question. The runners-up of their conference, it's not even going to be close. I have 35-14. Next game we have is Minnesota, the team that shouldn't even be there in the first place. 5-7 Minnesota at the Quick Lane Bowl in Detroit. This is going to be an interesting one. Luckily, they're inside. Big Ten versus ACC. I have the Big Ten overcoming this. I know Minnesota's lost a couple key players to the transfer portal. They have their true freshmen gone, but Bowling Green hasn't looked good either. Both of these teams are pretty low on the pack. I'm surprised Minnesota's bowl wasn't even earlier. I guess like the Quick Lane Bowl wanted a Big Ten ACC matchup, and the first one in was Minnesota since they were the lowest tier. I had Minnesota easily winning this 28-21. It might stay competitive a little bit in the beginning, but Minnesota's going to take away, and maybe Bowling Green might score like a late touchdown trying to come back. Next group of 5 team, neither of these teams has lost any players to the transfer portal. Not surprised. First Responders Bowl, I think Texas State is going to win this 35-31. There's not a lot to talk about in this game on the 26th prime time, but I do think it's going to be a competitive game. I would give it a watch. Maybe, depending on who is announcing the game, but I have Texas State overcoming this. The last game that we're going to be doing today, December 26th, 9 o'clock Eastern time, Kansas versus UNLV. UNLV, the runners-up. I don't think they're going to do it. Kansas might be without a quarterback due to injury, but they were able to compete at the highest level without him, and they are the superior team overall. I have them winning 35-21. That spread says minus 12.5. I think they're going to easily cover that. If I was a gambling man, this would be one of the easier covers, depending on if they actually compete at the highest level. If they're just out there running through the motions, then it'll be a lot closer. Guaranteed rate bowls in Tempe, so it's going to be fairly good weather. 9 o'clock Eastern. That's about 7 o'clock Arizona time, so the weather's going to be phenomenal. It's not going to be too hot, so I think it's going to be a very competitive, very fun game overall. And that's going to be it for this video. Please like and subscribe. Follow for part 3. We're going to be doing the next wave of teams, and then the final part 4 is going to be the Big Daddy New Year's 6 bowls, all of those New Year Day bowls, and as well as the playoffs. So please stay tuned for that. That's going to be coming up in a couple weeks. I want to see where the transfer portal is taking these players, because even right now, I had to change some of my scores, and some of the over-unders had to change because certain people enter the transfer portal later. Not everyone joins the first day. Some have more conversations. Some visit other teams. They don't visit, but, they still visit. There's a lot of secrecy. NIL video coming soon talking about some crazy stuff happening in the water, but that's going to be it. Please like and subscribe down below. Peace.